Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about the biomechanics of the hip joint. It is one of the fundamental topic with concept. So what is biomechanics? Basically it tells about the amount and the manner of force acting on the hip joint. We all know that hip joint is a ball and socket type of joint. Sometimes you may get questions regarding normal range of movement in the hip. So in the hip joint, the possible range of movement in the sagittal plane is around 140 degree, out of which 120 to 130 degree is the flexion and 10 to 20 degree is the extension possible. Around 40 to 45 degree of abduction and 25 to 30 degree of adduction is also possible, making a abduction adduction range of movement in the coronal plane of around 75 degree. Similarly, in the hip joint, rotation of around 40 to 50 degree possible on either side as internal and external rotation. It was asked in pre-pitch examination multiple times that what is this movement, and you may get confused whether it is external rotation or internal rotation. Always look the movement in the hip joint. When the foot end is moving towards the midline, there is an external rotation happening in the hip joint and vice versa. So this movement is external rotation and this one is internal rotation at the hip joint. The functional range of movement that we utilize in our day-to-day activity is much less than our maximum allowed movement. The maximum range of movement of flexion and external rotation we need for activity like squatting and cross leg sitting. In bipedal stance, the weight of the body is distributed uniformly in the two lower limbs. The center of gravity lies in the center of fourth sacral vertebrae and the center of gravity meets the center of rotation of the femoral head in the middle point. But in the monopedal stance, the body tilts toward the weight bearing leg and the center of mass or center of gravity shifts proximal to L3 L4 intervertebral disc level and 2.5 cm away from the midline towards the weight bearing leg. It is estimated that in stance space the reaction force experienced in the hip is around 3 to 6 times than that of body weight. Similarly, during walking it is 5 times. In cross leg sitting it is 8 times, and during lifting, running, jumping and squatting it is as high as 10 times than that of the body weight. Because such tremendous force is acting in the hip joint, so we get features of painful limb in case of any hip pathology. Let us go deep to find out how such a large amount of force the hip is dealing with. So this is a schematic diagram of the hip joint in monopedal stance after eliminating the shift of the center of mass. In this example, the body is keeping the pelvis stable by the help of the abductor muscle denoted as M. In case of weak abductor muscle, the body cannot able to keep the pelvis stable and the pelvis tilt to the opposite side and there will be Trendelenburg sign or Trendelenburg gait. Here My is the vertical component of the muscle force, W is the weight of the body, Cr is the center of rotation of the hip joint. A and B denotes the distance from the center to the muscle force axis and weight axis respectively. From the knowledge of the mechanics, it is evident that the load multiplied by the load arm should equal to the force multiplied by the force arm. So here the body weight W multiplied by B should equal to the vertical component of the muscle force, that is My multiplied by A. From this equation we can get that My is equal to W multiplied by B divided by A. From free body diagram it is evident that A is equal to 5 units and B is equal to 12.5 units. So My is nearly equal to 2.5 times than that of the body weight. As it is a stable system, the total force acting in proximal direction should equal to the force acting distally. So if R is the reaction force acting in the hip joint, its vertical component Ry should equal to My plus W. Equating from the previous finding, my, we can get that Ry is nearly equal to 3.5 times of the body weight, and the joint reaction force, that is R, that act on the hip joint in stance phase is somewhere around 3 to 6 times than that of the body weight. Here, if we concentrate, we can find that the vertical component of the joint reaction force depends upon the weight of the body and distance between the force axis and the hip joint. Here, weight is constant for an individual. So, to achieve reduction in reaction force, we need to increase the A component and we have to decrease the B component. In examination, you may get questions like in which side a person with a hip pathology should hold the cane for maximal comfort. Here, let us assume the person is having a hip pathology on the right side. When he uses the cane, he basically pushes the cane and tilts the body to the opposite side, that is to the left side, resulting the shifting of the center of mass or center of gravity towards the left side. So the component B here is increased, resulting more reaction force on the affected right hip joint. On the contrary, if the person holds the cane on his left hand, and center of mass will shift towards the right side, resulting in decrease in the reaction force and increase comfort while walking. So it should be remembered that the cane must be on the side of the normal hip. Applying the principle of biomechanics to total hip replacement, to decrease the joint reaction force, the acetabular component should be centralized and medialized as much as possible to decrease the component A, which is known as the body weight lever arm. Secondly, the neck length can be increased with lateral attachment of the trochanter to increase the component B, which is the abductor lever arm. This decreases the abductor force, hence the joint reaction force and the wear of the implant. Thank you for your attention. Hope you find it useful. See you in my next video in this channel. Thank you.